Yeah, I think we can start.
Okay. If attendees could turn on the video, you can feel free to turn on. And also, before we start this section, I would like to give a small introduction of the speaker for the day. And hope everyone would be like familiar because of the posters which we all created, and it's going on for the past 1 week. And I'm very happy to welcome Ketana Swaminathan. A small introduction about her is Ketana Swaminathan is a sports and exercise psychologist and the founder of Think Train Perform. She works with state and national level athletes for mental conditioning, and she also works with school children on behavior modification through physical activity and sports. Apart from that, Ketana also worked with many organizations in terms of performance psychology. She is an author of When I Look Back, It Was 21 already, and she is a marathon runner and a cyclist. I'm very happy to welcome Ketana Swaminathan for the wonderful section which we're going to begin today, Rainbow of Emotion. Welcome, Ketana.
You have to unmute yourself, Ketana.
Thanks for having me here. Let me just share screen with you so that we can start off. I hope that's okay. Yes, so I hope all of you are able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. So self-limiting beliefs. This is a very, very interesting topic, primarily because this is something that all of us have. This is something that really stops us from doing a lot of things. So for me to explain what self-limiting beliefs are, I'm going to be narrating a story to you, right? So there was this boy who was sitting in his house and looking at his garden. His garden was beautiful, pretty spacious, lot of trees, all those things, And then there's this fairy who appears in front of him and says, "Hey, there's a treasure chest outside. Why don't you go and, take the treasure chest? Why don't you claim it? It's all yours. It's in your garden. Why don't you go and take it?" So the boy gets excited, obviously, as all of us. If it's treasure chest, all of us get excited, right? So the boy gets excited and gets up to, go and claim the treasure chest, when the fairy says, "Hey, wait a minute. There's a white rabbit outside, and don't think about the white rabbit while going and claiming your treasure chest," right? And so what happened to the boy was he ended up thinking about the white rabbit and did not claim his treasure chest because he constantly kept focusing on the white rabbit, right? So for many of us, again, we might be like the boy who has a lot of dreams and hopes, exactly like that, treasure chest we need to claim. There might be a few white rabbits that we have which may not even be true, right? So here we are trying to look at our white rabbits, which are nothing but the self-limiting beliefs, nothing but the beliefs or the thoughts that we hold in our mind that stops us from doing a lot of wonderful things that we got to do, right? It makes us look at the world in a certain way. It's basically like glasses, If we are to wear a pair of specs which has green color glass paper on it, all of us are going to be looking at the world in a very green manner, right? Or everything is going to look green. If the same thing is going to be covered with red color paper, then everything would be red, isn't it? So similarly, this is how self-limiting beliefs work as well, right? It changes our perception. It changes our perceptions about ourselves. it changes our perception about others, and we got to work on such things. We really got to work on changing our perception so that it improves our life, our way of living, right? So with that, let me start off with what are my white rabbits? How am I going to go and, conquer my white rabbits and not think about it afterwards? In order for you to understand or not think about such a thing, you first need to know that such a thing exists, right? So today we're going to be looking at what are my white rabbits. I hope all of you have a piece of paper and a pen with you, a book and a pen with you. If not, I'll just give you a minute so that you can go and take your pen and paper. Before I start off the exercise, just make sure that all of you have a pen and paper with you. I'll just wait for a few more seconds. Right. So in your book, I would like you to just write down me in the center, right? Me in the center. And on the top, logic, intuitive, creative, emotions, motivation, and physicality. You can just write it the same way. Leave enough space. Make sure there's a lot of space so that you can write a lot of other thoughts and beliefs that you hold. It's going to be a very, it's going to be a very introspective activity. This is something that you can do so that you can understand yourself. You might realize a lot about yourself right now. So please give enough space in between these circles. Yeah. So let's start off with the relatively easy bit, which is the emotions, because that's something that all of us go through, and that's something that most of us might be aware of, because it's a little extroverted. So emotions are, see, there might be certain beliefs that you might be holding about yourself in terms of emotions. For example, women are very emotional, men don't cry, or I am very emotional, I react a certain way. These are all beliefs that we hold. We've been brought up with these emotions, right? We might feel like, okay, men don't have emotions at all, or these people are like this. We might segregate people a certain way. So all those comes under in terms of emotions. Or let's say all women are scared, or I am scared for a certain things. All those could be emotion based beliefs which you hold, right? So if you can put down all those beliefs that you hold in terms of emotions just beside this emotion circle in your paper, it'll be great. As many as possible. Just take your time and write it down. It could be something that, that was taught to you when you were young. It could be something which is also due to society. It can be something which is culturally, gotten into you. It could be any belief like that. I think one of the examples that one of the participants gave from last session was that big boys don't cry, men don't cry. That was something which I think recently we haven't heard of, but people have been talking about it, right? So that's again something to do with emotions. Or sports people are aggressive, or being a HR, I should be like this. HR should be balanced. Such things. It can be something in an organizational context as well, so you can think about it and write it down. Okay. So next we go on to physicality. Now physicality is again, I would say, relatively easy to write down. Things like, I'm too weak, I'm too thin, too fat, too overweight, I'm dark, I'm fair, whatever it is, whatever you've gone through as a belief, right, which has stopped you from doing a lot of things. Again, this could be something that you have. It could be it could be some belief that you have by yourself. It could be a belief that the society has put on you. It could be anything, right? At the same way, do you hold such beliefs over other people? I think that's also a question to ask. So you could write those things down in terms of physicality. Poor posture. You can talk about, I think a lot of people had a lot of pimples, acne, all those come under physicality, right? So anything like that, because I know that boils down to a lot of low self-esteem to a lot of people. So let's just write those things down. And then in terms of intuition, let's go on to the next circle, which is intuition. In intuition, you're going to think about all the decisions that you had made for which you had been ridiculed or blamed in the past, both ridiculed and blamed. So both of it. So which means you would be feeling a sense of embarrassment or guilt, right? So I want you to write those incidences, or those one-liners. Just think about it, and if you can put the gist of that particular incident down near intuition, it would be great. So you were blamed, or you were ridiculed for the particular decision that you made. See, because of that particular incident, you might feel like you can't trust your instincts, you can't trust your intuition. So that's the kind of situation I'm talking about. Let's go to logic now. Logic is again fairly easy, because this is something that most of us would have gone through when we were really young. So this is in terms of you're not clever enough, you can't do, let's say, mathematics properly, or you can't, you don't have the business acumen, whatever it is, So those are logic-based beliefs that you hold. Either you can hold over yourself or about yourself, or it can be something that you hold over other people. So please write those beliefs down. and then comes creativity. So again, creativity is something that all of us claim to not possess. For example, I'm not creative enough, I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't do this, such things, Again, I think we all end up restricting creativity to just drawing and painting or being able to do other things, but it's also about thinking differently, right? So again, creativity. So what are the beliefs that you hold about yourself in terms of creativity? Uh, Maybe you feel you're not good at music, maybe you feel you're not good at arts, maybe you feel something about another person. You can write those things down. And last but not the least, motivation, right? So motivation is something, why I'm talking about this at the end is because a lot of us don't know whether we have a strong sense of meaning or purpose towards whatever we are doing, right? Most of us just take up a job because we need to earn something, we need to be stable in terms, we need to settle down. That's the kind of thing that we have, isn't it? So motivation, again, do you have a strong sense of purpose or strong sense of meaning, right, towards the work that you're doing, correct? So again, beliefs that revolve around your purpose towards your life, that comes under motivation. A lot of us may or may not know what these beliefs are, and it could take a lot of time for us to understand what these beliefs are. So again, this is probably going to take a lot more introspective time than probably, let's say, a 2 or 5 minute. So that's why this came at the end. So for those of you who know, you can write it down. If you can think of something, I can't do this because I don't have a clear sense of purpose. You might be confused as to what you're doing, or maybe you're going for your job, but then you don't like what you're doing because you feel like that's not my cup of tea, right? So that comes under motivation. You can write those things down there. This is not what I want to do. All those things come, again, those are beliefs, right? You can write those things down. So as and when, I'm talking, or maybe even for the next few days, if you feel like there are any other beliefs that you have left out in terms of these 6 factors, I think you can add that in, because this is again going to take time for you to understand and put down in points. A lot of us have over 100 of self-limiting beliefs, and we got to make sure, see, most of it are interconnected. Nothing is a standalone self-limiting belief, right? So sometimes when you just meddle with one, when you start rectifying one, a lot of other things changes. So it's better for you to put down whatever limiting beliefs that are there in your mind over over there in paper, so that we can start rectifying those things, we can start changing those things, right? So I'll just give you another 1 minute to quickly write down those beliefs, and then I'm going to move on to the next slide. So I think this is the most important question. Why are we even talking about limiting beliefs? Why are we talking about these things? Does it really create an impact on how we see the world? Especially for a person who is working in an organization, does it really create an impact? What I feel, what I do, does it really make a difference to the other person? Yes, of course it does. The beliefs you hold is going to change the way you think, you behave, right? And also the kind of opportunities you get. It's more of a reflection, isn't it? So it does create a huge impact. And imagine other people getting influenced by the kind of self-limiting beliefs that you have, right? So just imagine how many of these self-limiting beliefs that you've written down in the previous slide are ones that were created by yourself. I'm not sure many were, beliefs that you were born with, isn't it? Most of it has come from the society, has probably come from your friends, your parents. It could be anyone for that matter. So if that's the case, imagine you're going to be working with a set of people, and imagine the amount of transference that can take place in terms of thought process and everything, right? So it does create a huge impact. It does. And believe it, if you start being aware of such things, then I think that's the first step towards change, right? Even in terms of other people responding to you, it's going to create a huge change. You're literally going to be attracting what you want, because you're going to be removing all those barriers that you have in your mind, right? So how do I change these beliefs? Now we know what these beliefs are. We know that these beliefs are very important. How do I change these beliefs, right? This is a very interesting bit. It's called distortions, right? I think you can see the first two words, which is be aware of the distortions, right? Now, distortions are nothing but changes or things that you can't see a certain way. Like for example, let's say your mirror, right, is broken. You won't be seeing an image of yourself, isn't it? You would be seeing a distorted image of yourself, right? So that is a distortion. So seeing something else is called a distortion, right? So the whole point here is be aware of the distortions that you have in your mind, right? Like I said earlier, our perspectives are more like the spectacles that we wear. And if we end up wearing a clear spectacle, we can see the world as it is. We can see another person as they are. But if we have those distortions, if our spectacles are covered with such distortions, if our spectacles are broken, we end up seeing the world in a broken manner. We end up seeing another person in a very different manner, right? I'm going to give you an insight into what these kind of distortions are. I'm just going to touch upon 4 of the very important distortions that most of us go through every single day, right? Let me start off with filtering. So filtering, let me put it in simple terms. It's like our coffee filter, right? So what happens is, anytime you think about filtering, just think about the filter coffee that we drink every day, right? So it's more like, in a given situation, right, we end up magnifying and taking only the negatives of the situation while leaving out the positive ones. It's like the positive never happened, right? That's what mental filtering is. Okay, so in a given situation, in any situation, we end up thinking or remembering only the negative ones, only the negatives that happen in that particular situation. And in fact, we end up magnifying them or exaggerating them while leaving out the positives that happened in a situation. Let's take, for example, you go into a restaurant. I'm giving you a very generic example, right? You get into a restaurant. Of course, in today's COVID-19 situation, we can't think about it, but I'm sure when you had gone in the past, right? So let's say you enter a restaurant and the ambience is great, the food is good, and you're having a great time. You're really having a great time. You have amazing company there. The music is good, the food is good, everything is good, everything is perfect, right? But when the person brings, let's say, the dessert or the ice cream, you find a hair there. Okay, that's the negative that happened in the entire situation, correct? Now, a person who filters would think about the hair, would exaggerate the situation, even if the restaurant handles the entire issue properly, might magnify it and might stop stepping into that restaurant. In fact, you might remember only that happening, right? When a person doesn't filter, let's assume that the restaurant is behaving properly at that time, right? So let's say they are giving a, exchange or whatever it is of the ice cream, they're admitting their issue, and you end up having a good time and still coming back to the restaurant whenever you need to, right? So that's a person who doesn't filter. A person who filters makes that such a big issue. Although the restaurant would have given a change in ice cream, would have admitted their mistake, the person is going to end up thinking that the restaurant is bad, right? That's filtering, right? So if you can put down maybe one situation that's happened in your life where you filtered, all of us filter, okay? All of us filter. We all filter and exaggerate the negatives while leaving out the positives. It could be about yourself, it could be about the outside world. I would prefer that you write something about yourself, because we're talking about self-limiting beliefs here. So please write down an incident where you filtered. Let's say, there is a situation where, you have to give your best performance, right? And maybe one thing went wrong while everything else went right. You end up thinking only about the thing that went wrong and your entire self-esteem goes low. That's again mental filtering, right? So just think about it and put it down there. You can just write on filtering and just write this down. Just be aware of this. Okay, we go on to black and white thinking now. Now, black and white thinking again is something which is very easily understandable, which is we think in extremes, right? Either we think we're really, really good, or we think we're really, really bad, right? There's no in between. For example, let's say a lot of us feel we're really, really bad at financial and, in terms of managing finances. Yes, that's again black and white thinking, wherein we feel we're really bad at it and we don't even do anything to change it, right? So that's black and white thinking. Few of us might feel that we're very good, let's say at speaking or presenting or whatever it is, and we end up not even preparing for it, right? And either way, it's wrong, correct? So again, that's a distortion that you have, and you can write it down in black and white thinking, wherein you think only in terms of extremes. You don't think about the gray area at all. Okay, so we move on to overgeneralizing. And overgeneralizing is nothing but coming to a conclusion about something or someone, it could be even yourself, just from one incident or one situation, right? So let's say one of us have tried cooking just once and it failed, and we overgeneralize that we are just horrible at it, correct? So that is overgeneralizing, wherein we feel we're not good just by trying, once. It could be just one situation or one incident that's made you feel like, you're not good at something or you're very good at something, right? So that's overgeneralizing. Again, you can put down your distortion in terms of overgeneralizing in a piece of paper. And then you have what if thinking. Again, a lot of us have this what if thinking, which is nothing but imagining that the worst things are going to happen, right? So this is, see, while filtering is something that has happened in the past, filtering is something which is about an incident that's happened in the past, and in retrospect you're thinking about it and filtering only the negatives. What if thinking is more about thinking about the future, and you're thinking about what if this happens, what if the worst happens, what if I get affected by this, whatever it is, that what if thinking, wherein you exaggerate something that's going to happen, which is not even proven to happen. Let's say you're going in a flight and you feel scared because you think, what if it crashes, right? Okay, maybe in the current scenario, what if I get COVID-19 while traveling in a flight, right? So what if, again, is about the exaggerated thinking of the future, of the consequences of what's going to happen, right? So that's what if thinking. And please write down your distortion in terms of what if thinking. Now that you've written down your self-limiting beliefs, right, you need to start challenging it. Okay, so one thing I would tell you is this monitoring of your distortions and your self-limiting beliefs need to be a ongoing process. So in the night before sleeping, or if you have the habit of carrying a small book with you, right, please catch yourself when you are going through a distortion, or maybe when your self-limiting beliefs pops in, right? And I want you to put it down and see how it has influenced the way you've behaved or done a certain action. Okay, so that's very important. Let's say, for example, you have this belief that I'm going to give you a very simple example. Okay, you have this belief that you're very shy and you're very introverted and you can't talk to many people, right? Let's say that's a belief that you hold, that's a self-limiting belief that you hold, and it is limiting you in a certain way, right? So what you do is, let's say you probably get a chance to be a team leader, okay, and you refuse to do so because in your mind you hold a belief that, oh, I'm introverted and I can't do this, I'm not good enough, right? So again, there the underlying belief for that particular decision is I can't, right? I can't do certain things. So which is a self-limiting belief, right? Let's say the next time the same example, if you had taken a decision that you don't want to be a leader because you were traveling or something which is very practical like that, then that's not a self-limiting belief, right? Because genuinely you're going to be traveling, you're not going to be available, or probably you're going to be held up with something else. So that's fine. But the moment you know the underlying reason of such a decision, right, is a self-limiting belief, I think you got to monitor that and change it immediately. So awareness is key here. You got to challenge it. You really need to challenge your self-limiting belief this way, right? So again, the next time there is a situation where you make your decision based on a self-limiting belief that you hold, that you carry, right? Please challenge it. Please monitor it and understand, okay, this is why I've taken this decision. This is the belief. I feel I'm not good enough. So I'm going to challenge it. Let me just take this opportunity. I'm going to give you an example, right? So I used to be really bad at public speaking. Not long ago, maybe let's say 7-8 years ago, I was really shy. So when I was, probably even during my school days, I remember I would never really open up. I would never really go on stage. I used to dance quite a bit, but I would never really go on stage to talk. And I would never imagine myself to actually, train people, take sessions, do a bit of public speaking. No, never, right? And that was always a self-limiting belief that I can't talk. Maybe I would have tried it once. Over there, I over-generalized because I think one situation was such that, I was given an opportunity and probably I stammered. So maybe that was somewhere I over-generalized as a child. And slowly what happened was I started refusing every opportunity that came, be it school or college, anywhere that I would be, in terms of talking on stage or even in terms of drama or a play or anything for that matter, because I felt I was bad at it, right? And slowly I started challenging this belief. I started challenging this belief. I started understanding that, I'm refusing because I feel I'm not good enough, not because I don't have the time, right? So then I started preparing a lot more. I started accepting, the challenge. I started preparing a lot more. And I think that changed the way I looked at my speaking altogether, right? That made me a lot more confident. That made me feel a lot better. It's a simple self-limiting belief that's come up from that distortion that I spoke about, overgeneralizing, right? So the moment we are aware of such things and challenge it, saying, hey, let me take this on, let me, fight it out, things changes altogether. Things really change altogether, right? And this is just one belief I'm talking about myself. I think there are so many other beliefs that I can go on with, right? But the moment we start conquering it one by one, change is just it's so easy to conquer other things, right? So challenging it is a very, very important part. The moment you are aware of these beliefs, I think challenging it is a piece of a cake, right? Just getting on to the next slide. Yes. So the last one, right? Take a third person perspective. I really love this step because this is the step that gives us a totally different take on certain things. It points out everything from your eyes. Third person perspective is nothing but seeing the same situation from an other person's eyes, right? From an other person's perspective. Now, the third person that you take could be your role model, could be your parent, could be anyone that you admire and aspire to be. I think that aspiration part is very important. So, the question that you got to ask yourself over here is, what would I do if or what would that person do? What would that person do if he or she was in my place at the moment, right? So, or if I were that particular person, let's say your mom, okay? So if I were my mom, how would I be responding to this particular situation, right? I'm saying take a person you aspire to be like, because it's easier to accept and admit that perspective, right? So take a third person's perspective, and what happens is you end up taking such a decision, you end up changing. Here it's a simple thing of changing your decision, that's it. And the moment you start changing your decision, what actually happens is that you end up taking that step, and maybe there's a huge change in terms of your belief systems, right? So therefore, take a perspective. This is my all-time favorite step, because this really pushes you to do things. This really makes you do things. This gives you that extra energy and motivation to do things, right? So this is the most important step. I think other than being aware, this is a very, very important step. The moment you start taking another person's, looking at things from a different way, seeing how the other person would have reacted in the same position, I think that's very important for, that's the most important point for you to change, right? So take a third person perspective, and I think with this we all should be good with in terms of self-limiting beliefs, because we will be able to conquer our self-limiting beliefs. It's a very simple thing, right? I know these beliefs are pretty complicated. These beliefs are holding us back from a lot of things without even our knowledge. But the moment you put it down on paper, these are nothing but just a few words in our mind, right? And the moment you follow these 3 steps, at least you're gradually going to change your self-limiting beliefs, right? Something changes within you, you end up taking actions, you end up taking the steps to change, and that makes a big difference in terms of removing your self-limiting beliefs. And it's not that new self-limiting beliefs are not going to come. Definitely, in an age of social media, in an age of so much of exposure, we are going to be getting a lot of self-limiting beliefs day in and day out. And it's very important for us to just be aware and catch hold of them and immediately change it, so that you understand, okay, this is not my self-limiting belief. Let me change this. This is not going to be limiting me from doing anything, right? So that's about it. And I hope all of you found this session useful. So any questions, I would take it right now. I think you're on mute.
Yes, the section is open for the question. If anyone has any doubts or clarification, you can ask another 10-15 minutes.
I think there's a question on the chat. While changing ourselves or working on self-limiting beliefs, how to get courage? There's always a fear that stops us. Yes. So fear in itself is a self-limiting belief, right? Let's look at fear a little differently, right? Fear, if you look at it, it's nothing but you feeling a lack of something, lack of ability to do something, right? So you feel that inability to do something. That's when you have that fear, correct? That in itself is a limiting belief, right? The moment you put that down as a limiting belief, I think that should be easy for you to, you can crack the code with that. So your fear, just break it down into, okay, this is my inability to do such and such thing. That's the belief you're holding in your mind, right? I hope that answered your question. If not, please let me know so I can answer it in a detailed manner.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Kirtana, Ramesh here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know whether it's a self-limiting belief. So you see,
Okay.
emotionally, I'm a kind of nature. I'm a kind of person where I'm so sensitive. If someone, cries, or if being in HR, it's very tough for me to handle
Right.
such people. By
Yes.
nature, I'm a kind of person. If someone cry, I'm so I could not able to do anything. So I could not
Right.
even see most of the times in HR that we step in, we have to take some hard decisions. At times
Yes.
that if someone gets into that, I don't know at times whether I'm limiting myself seeing it or, but I need to forcefully do that. So
Right.
by nature it is to me. So how can I change that? Could you help me out?
Okay, so I don't know whether you have to change your nature here, because I think as human beings, all of us wear multiple hats, right? Let me tell you something. I'm a psychologist and I am extremely sensitive as well. But when it comes to my profession, I think the hat I wear is completely different, right? So that's why you got to kind of shift your focus from more about I think your focus over there when you're a HR, right, should be more about how do I solve their issue or how do I help them out, right? And at that point I understand pushing your emotions is going to be a little tough initially, right? Maybe slowly, as you practice, as these situations keep cropping out, when you end up intensely focusing on, hey, this is going to be the solution, I need to offer a solution for them, I think things will change a lot. And I think one thing, as if you feel that is still hurting a lot, you can still put down I'm too sensitive as a self-limiting belief, right? Because on a serious note, are we sensitive or are we empathetic? Right, I think both are I think something which is often interchanged
Correct.
and used.
Correct.
So I think it's very important, if this doesn't work, I'm saying if the first situation doesn't work, usually it does work, if that doesn't work, then I suggest you put down I'm too sensitive as a self-limiting belief. See if you're really too sensitive or is it just empathy, right? Because most of us are empathetic and there's nothing wrong about it, right? So try changing that self-limiting belief into something very positive. Let's reframe it. So if you feel you're sensitive, first rationalize or logically make yourself understand I'm not sensitive, I'm just empathetic. And by being empathetic, it means I need to provide a solution for them, right? Which means you're just reframing your entire belief. You're not changing your quality here, you're just changing your belief here.
I have to
I
try.
hope this answers the question, but you can reach out to me if you need help with this particular thing. I can definitely
Sure.
help you out with this.
Thank you, Gitana.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
Hi, this is Mohammed Arif. I have a question.
Yes.
My question is like how to guess people in work actually, because each and every person guess the people guessing.
Guessing or understanding, right? In terms of understanding.
Yeah, understanding people. Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
You are right.
I think this I would cover this in terms of mindfulness.
Okay.
But let me just to briefly answer your question. I think we don't need to know the person or understand the person 100%, because that's going to be tough, right? But what we can do is we can definitely understand that all of us have a story, right? All of us are coming from a background, right? And the only one good thing that we can do is not judge them, clarify with them, right? Let's say Kavita is here. Kavita, I'm just going to take you as an example. I'm sorry about it. So let's say Kavita is here and she's crying, and or she makes a mistake, and I end up feeling that she's not good at all because she makes a mistake, right? But actually, if I need to give myself a moment and think about it, maybe she's having a bad day, right? Or maybe her internet is not working or something, right? So it could be anything for that matter. So instead of judging right away, let's try to go and clarify, then we might end up understanding them a lot better. So I think that will be easier.
Yeah. That's what I'm waiting. But here people are pushing me. Actually, can't you guess the people? Can't you do like this? Can't you do? So many questions are there. Actually, I'm patiently waiting. What is the situation? Why they are doing like that? I have that empathy within me actually, as a nature itself.
I get it.
But here the situation demands like that. Actually, can't you guess the people correctly like that? They are asking, but I can't guess anything because they have their own story.
No, why don't you try talking to them? Why don't you try talking to your team, trying to talk to your people? instead of guessing or gauging them by yourself, why don't you try talking to them and having an open communication with them, so that you get to know? It's more of a conversation. Then they understand what you're going through, you understand what they're going through, right? See, we all open up a lot when we are very comfortable with them, right? So what if you can try talking to that person and try talking to your team and seeing whether it works or not, whether you can understand them or not.
Exactly, Ketan. I'm doing that. But what happened is most of the times here, I have the both stories with me actually. The story of management as well as the employees are both together.
Right.
How to maintain a balance with them? There comes a challenge.
Right. I would be talking a lot more about this in terms, I think, in the next session, which is transference and mindfulness both. So I think that will
Okay.
help you a lot, because I'm not sure whether today's session would help in that. So is it okay, or do you want me to, give you a call or something so that we can talk about this? I think that will be
No,
better,
I'm
because
eagerly
it
waiting
doesn't.
for that.
So what I'll do,
No,
I'll
I'm eagerly
cover
waiting
this
for
in our
that
next
session. Yeah.
session. I'll cover this in our
Yeah.
next session, so that we can actually talk about this at length. I hope
Yeah.
that's okay with you, because that doesn't, I mean,
Yeah.
this doesn't
Fine.
come under self-limiting will. That's why.
Okay.
Okay.
Because what I thought is like I can't guess the people or what because so many things been told by.
No, I'll tell you what. I think one thing
Yeah.
you can put down is, I can't guess people as a self-limiting belief. You can write it down. Okay,
Okay.
I think we'll work on this way. Okay, you can put down this as a self-limiting belief, wherein you say I can't work on people, or I can't guess people. I think that you can write it down. And usually with
Okay.
our self-limiting beliefs comes the behavior, a certain action that
Okay.
you do, which stops us from uh, taking the next step. So just try to
Understood.
understand what is that behavior that you do because of this self-limiting belief of, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, which is basically here,
Okay.
I can't understand my team. What is that behavior you're doing that is stopping you from
Okay.
actually understanding them? Just try doing that.
Clear.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Just
Yeah.
try doing
Thank
that
you.
and let me know if it works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I think there's another question there. I feel uncomfortable to communicate normally in front of very senior people who are powerful in the organization, as I think they always judge people. And if we say something wrong, it could impact us. That is a huge self-limiting belief. Let me tell you something, which is, I think you can put this down as a self-limiting belief and work on it exactly the same way that I've given you, the same steps. So the next time you catch yourself talking to your very senior people in your organizations, just make sure you're very confident. So you feel uncomfortable, right? Just catch yourself there and say, I'm going to prepare myself exceedingly well so that I can go and present myself, right? Let me tell you something. I think once, I think last year or something, I was about to address about 2,000 people in front of me, and that was overwhelming for me, because I told you my background about public speaking and everything, right? So given that 2,000 people was a little overwhelming, and I was initially reluctant to take that opportunity up, right? And the good thing is, I took it up and I prepared myself exceedingly well, that when I went there, I didn't even realize that there were 2,000 people or more than that over there, right? You just sometimes flow. So in terms of talking to a person, right, I think it's very important for you to understand how much you got to prepare, because we end up not preparing, thinking that you're not good enough, right? That's no excuse, correct? So let's prepare ourselves, and even if they judge, so what, right? Let's look at it that way. And again, this judgment and that part of it, I'm going to be talking about it in terms of mindfulness and emotions and transference at length in the next few sessions. But please put this out as a self-limiting belief, and please follow the 3 steps that I told you. That will definitely break the self-limiting belief for sure.
Probably I think like we can go with last 1 or 2 question.
Sure.
Yes.
Hi, this is Kalai here.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is on the first part. We talked about this logic and intuition, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
here, I just wanted to know one thing. From the intuition point, yes, I had taken some decisions or some transactions
Okay.
due to this intuition, but that ended up something bad. Okay,
Right, right.
so um so what is that my takeaway here? Is it something like I shouldn't believe my intuition, or is it something that should I validate my intuition, or what is that I should do for the if at all I'm going to get some other institutions for my near future. So how should I deal with that?
So intuition over here is nothing but the decisions that we make. Like for example, all those life-changing decisions. Like for example, I study this, or I getting married. Obviously, all those are life-changing decisions that all of us make, right? So
True.
to go with it or not, again. So maybe let me just reframe your question so that let's just check whether I got it right. So you're saying you made a decision and it went wrong, so you don't
Correct.
know whether you need to trust your intuition or not, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at it this way. There are a lot of things that go wrong, not because of our decisions, but because of certain external things that happen when we take our decision, right? It may not be the decision itself, but it may be when and why, or when and at what point we take that decision. So it'll be great if you can break it down at that extent. See, again, this particular session, I think we spoke only about generally intuition. I didn't talk about the what or why of the decision that you've taken, right? So if you can get into or break down the why and what of the decision, because decisions at, let's say I make a decision and a very senior person takes that decision, it may not have the same consequences, isn't it? Right? So again, at what time we take that decision impacts everything a lot more, correct? It may not be the decision itself. So what you can do is break it down into what about that decision went wrong for you. Is it the timing? Is it the decision itself? Is it the person, in terms of if it's a person related decision, or is it the what is it in terms of the decision that went wrong? And then you will know whether it's the timing of the decision or it's your intuition that you shouldn't trust. 99% of the time, it's not the intuition that you shouldn't trust. It's more about the external factor, which is the timing or the place, all those things, which is mostly emotion related.
That's correct. That's wonderful. Actually, that was actually due to the timing.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
my intuition was right, but that was the timing actually
Exactly.
didn't match.
Exactly.
So
Exactly that.
so the conclusion is we can trust our intuition,
Yes.
but again we should
We should weigh the pros and cons and then make that decision, because I think the timing, again, as you said, timing is the major part of our decisions. The consequence, I think, solely depends on the timing of the decision and the emotion with which we take that decision. And I think that makes all the difference. So if you can validate those and then make that decision, I think that would be great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kalai. And we can have a last one final question.
Probably I will come up with one question, Kirtana,
Sure.
which is a
Sure,
common
sure.
question. Fine.
Sure.
See, generally, when we are in HR, we will be little bit to be very balanced, and we need to really look upon the employee side and employer side.
Correct.
Probably this is one particular point. Sometimes we actually forget to get motivate ourselves to handle both the situation.
Yes, yes.
And we rely upon somebody else who could really come and motivate me. Somebody should really come back and motivate me. Prakash, do well. Prakash, do well.
Correct.
Why it is not coming from within us?
Okay. Now this boils down to the motivation part of the entire 6 factors that I'd given you. The motivation part. What really makes you or drives you to do your work? Okay. For example, let me give you an example. So I work pretty much through the day, and I'm a person who doesn't even take Sundays off. Honestly speaking, I literally take only Sunday second half off, and I'm very busy usually. Okay, and I keep working. In fact, people ask me not to work. That's literally how it is. So, and the thing is, I'm always internally driven. I don't think there's ever anyone coming and trying to motivate me. Usually, I'm always internally driven, right? And that's because I really find value in terms of my work. I really enjoy doing my work. I love empowering people. And when I see that smile in my athlete's face, I see the smile in the employee's face, I get really happy. And for me, my entire focus is on solving the problem, changing that issue, trying to make them feel empowered. We need to give them a solution. That's the only thing I look at. So instead of looking at balancing the employers and the management and the employees, right? If you can try looking at that one thing that ignites that fire in you, and in that balance is coming, and in that you need to create that balance. I think that would be great.
Thank you, Kirtana. Thank you so much.
I hope that made sense.
Yeah, it's correct. My thing is it has to become by practice, because actually as a HR, we need to really support both the employee as well as the employer.
Correct.
Because here it's one is a powerful person who is an employer. Here it's in terms of volume, in terms of number of employees. It's a very critical area. So many of us really miss doing it. So we just want to understand from your perspective.
Yes, no, but the truth is, if you can find out that one igniting factor that you can get as a HR, that gives you that feeling of satisfaction as a HR, then balancing both of them will be very easy. It's just that this igniting factor needs to be there, and if you can keep focusing on that, this balancing will come automatically. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Over to you, Kavita.
Yes, thank you so much. The section was really useful, and many would have got a good insight about the self-limiting beliefs. As the topic clearly says, rainbows of emotions. We have covered the first color, that is self-limiting beliefs, and there are 6 other colors which are waiting for you in other 6 Saturdays on the same timing. I request everyone who attended today to join us, and few doubts which you have currently would be answered in the upcoming section, and I feel even the upcoming section would be giving you more insights. Thank you so much for everyone who joined despite today's work. Thank you so much, and thank you Kirtana Swaminathan for taking this wonderful section.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kirtana. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.